Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of ApplePie TableTalk. Today we are interviewing Unginita Prevost.
With that journey as a foster girl, I had to deal with so many issues. I had to deal with abandonment issues, feeling wanted, being labeled a problem child, being confused about my sort of connection, right, to family, because I didn't have a solid family structure. One of the things that one of the reasons why I continue to share this story now, I didn't always share this story. I was actually embarrassed about being a foster kid because, society looks down on foster children. And when you are aged out and you move on, you don't really want to tell them. I remember when I was in a group home, I was actually living in the children's shelter and I was placed in a group home. And all of a sudden I showed up at school. And I remember referring to my foster mother, calling her grandmother, right, as if she were my grandmother, but she wasn't. Everyone knew that I was a foster kid, but I was embarrassed and I kind of pretended that I was part of this family, but everyone knew. And it just was embarrassing, and it took me many years to own my story, own this journey, and be more confident sharing it. And I think what really transformed everything for me was when I started working with Living Advantage, a nonprofit in Los Angeles, and I am the spokesperson for Living Advantage, and I go out and I speak to girls, and I go to USC and we do events, and I started doing a lot of board meetings and promos to help them raise funds for foster care. And one of the things I discovered was that I don't have the exact percentage because percentages change quite often, but it's some kids, 60 to 80% of kids in sex trafficking, human trafficking, depending on what organization, are from foster care.
Wow.
They're foster kids.
Wow. That's insane. That's insane.
I have to tell you, one of the reasons why I'm so convicted and my position and sharing my message and wanting to empower people, not only about foster, about how kids end up being a victim in society and the victim socialization. When I was a young girl and going through the shelters and foster, there would be periods where, we would be alone, roaming around, town or whatever, right? And I always remembered men driving up and trying to pull me into a van.
Oh my gosh.
And it's quite scary because of it at the time, but now I go, wait a minute. I wonder if I was being groomed or if they sort of labeled me or sort of they were targeting me for trafficking. And when I realized, oh my gosh, what if that happened to me? I mean, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to share this. And that's why I feel like I won. That's why I'm able to be so free. I'm able to just go out and do what I do and pursue my dreams and not worry about what other people think and just be a full expression of myself because I feel like I won. I feel like I made it. And just having to do, monetary gain, material things, it's that worth inside. So that's something that I won't lose sight of. And I'm looking at ways of getting more involved with the whole human trafficking side and bringing it into the foster care side, the organization I'm working with, because there is a connection there. And we have the data to support it. So I think these two organizations should come together to empower people and also to seek ways to keep children safe.
Thank you. It's very brave of you to share your story and to share your history with us. I really appreciate that. I definitely would say that you are the exception to the rule. What do you think it is that allowed you to set yourself aside, that allowed you to have the self-love and the resilience to come from nothing and instead of depreciating your value, shrinking back, settling for less than the worth of your humanity, you rose above your circumstances, not only rose above those circumstances to a level of success that most people dream of, but now you're here and you're giving back. What has propelled you and compelled you to now give back to humanity? And what lessons can people take from that to apply to their own lives if there are children out there who are involved with sex trafficking?
or have been victims of sex trafficking.
Yes.
What really sort of gave me my power, I always had a vision. And I had a vision when I was very young. I just had a vision of, maybe I was fantasizing a lot, right? I remember I was in the project in New Orleans. I remember I'd sit in the bedroom and I'd just look out the window and just fantasize. And I would just make things up in my head. So that obviously kept me, anchored. But I think I just had something inside. And I do remember, I'll tell you something I remember that blows my mind. I was in the shelter and I was assigned a probation officer and a social worker. And my probation officer said that he saw something in me. He said, I see something in you. I see that you can do something really big. What is this man talking about? I'm like, what? I was like, what is he talking about? Like, what? And at the time, we were going to court. And we had a hearing with my biological mother. And that was the hearing to determine if I was going to go back into the home. And I had only been with her for, I think, maybe a couple of years. So, we were not together. I did spend very much time with my biological mother. He saw something in my mother, and he just decided that he was going to leave me in a shelter to be placed in a foster home. But there was just something. Like, he said something to me, and I just remember thinking, what is he talking about? But maybe he's writing a letter, and I still have a copy of it. Like, I wrote, like, 2 versions, and then, like, I gave one, and I kept the other one, because I felt like, wow, it was just a moment. And I always remember that there were moments where people would single me out, and they would say things to me. When I was in school and I was a dancer, my dance teachers would say things about me, and people would just, they noticed me. Even though I was an abandoned child, or even though I was considered a problem child, or even though I was a child that technically no one wanted.
Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you. And
this was so much fun.
Being here, I appreciate you and all of your advice and all of your wisdom and your heart to heal and help humanity.
Nice to share.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great week and live your apple pie dreams.
Apple pie, apple pie, apple pie.
Thank you.